Hello everyone, I'm Black Marvin. I'm a progressive psychedelic trance artist. I'm also an electronic music teacher. And today we're taking a look at something really cool. Pigments is a really strong synth. I think it's safe to say that it's underrated, at least in the Psytrance production world. But I think I'm even gonna say I think it's just underrated, considered to the power and the cutting edge tools there's inside Pigments versus the actual reach it has. I think it's underrated. It's a really good synth. Since a couple of weeks already, there's a band called Psytrance Fusion that is out on the Fractal Sound store, and that's what we're gonna do an overview of today. This bank is designed to utilize all the available creative power inside Pigments. By the way, if you want more Pigments content, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. This is one synth that I cover a lot, and alongside a lot of creative and stimulating sound design tools. And let's do it. Here we are inside Psytrance Fusion for Pigments. And before having an individual take on the presets, we're going to have an overview of the pack. And the idea with this pack was not to just provide 100 presets of FM leads and bleeps and bloops. While I think we can pretty much do it with Serum and Vital and or other FM synths. And Pigments have some really unique features that we can use in Psytrance. I'm thinking about the granular synthesis. I'm thinking about the harmonic engine. And the idea was to use these possibilities. There's also a very strong sequencer inside Pigments. So let's just have an overview. There's some acids in there, some atmosphere. There are some granular effects. There's also some utility effects, but the utility effects are more the common one and are more standard one, while the granular effects, they are risers, but they have like specific texture and they use the granular engine for that, so that it's a bit more unique. There's some grid, of course. There's some lead sequences, and there's some leads. There's some Psytrance leads, just pure leads, and there's also some sequenced lead. But if you know how to do it, and I'm going to show you how to do it, you can turn a lead sequence into just a single lead if you want to, sequence it on your own. There's some psychedelic effects too, along as well as the granular effects and the utility effects. There's some Squelch, some good old Squelch, and vocal pads, and some words. Let's have a look at Futuristics, which is an acid preset. I think that in the acid ones, this one is like the farthest from the original TB303 acid thing, but there's from the Nirvana, which sounds closer to the original acid sound. Also, this one, you can hear that there's a sequence when you play it. So you can either use it as the sequence like this, and if that vibe or that sequence you don't necessarily like, you like the sound but not the sequence, the first thing you can do is like you go inside sequence and you can reverse it to just the arpeggiator. So you won't have the note, but you'll have the the arpeggiator. There's also something else you can do, is that in this case there's some swing. Swing is like that groovy feeling that you can add. I'm gonna put more swing so you can really see what I'm talking about. So this preset by default, it adds some swing in it, so you can also revert that if you don't like it. So now this sounds more like squarey, like acid techno or just more warehouse stuff. While this one with a little bit of swing, it sounds like you're in the middle of the dance floor in midday during a festival. So there's just from that preset, there's these little modifications that you can do. And the last thing I talked to you about is just to disengage the sequence and then and then you can just use it as a stab or a lead, or you can sequence it yourself in your DAW or with another tool. And that's it for the acid. Now let's move on to the atmosphere. And the atmosphere is basically what I was talking to you about, trying to utilize what Pigments has to offer. This one really does it. If we take Secret Path, you can see that there's both granular engines working. That atmosphere sounds like this. So it's a really rich atmosphere that you cannot get in Serum, you cannot get in Vital. This is utilizing the strength of Pigments, and this is really good for if you want to have that kind of atmosphere filtered in the background of a track, or you just want to play it in the introduction because, you know, their good old progressive psychedelic trance has some rich introduction too. And you can also just use it in other jar or other uses, but it definitely helps having these kind of sound in the bank too. Now moving on to the grids, let's check out Grid Jurassic Park. If you don't know what grid type synths are, they are percussive synths, percussive glitchy synths that provide a groove and texture in the track. So there's a couple of them in the pack, but we're gonna check this one, Grid Jurassic Park. Usually these type of sound are meant to be resampled, which basically mean you're gonna play them, you're gonna record that sequence, and you're gonna chop that and resequence it yourself. Or you can use it as is, but I strongly suggest that you resample these. Moving on to the lead sequence, we have Barracuda here. Again, same thing as everything that's sequenced in this pack. You can just, dial down the sequenced aspect of it, or you can just literally remove it and end up with a lead. Now, if we go into the Psytrance lead, there's many of them with very different aesthetic. If you compare, there's Harmonium here, which has more of a sci-fi feeling. You have other types like Dark Lights. Other ones like Microbes. And other ones like Trippy Fusion. I keep saying that because the idea was to really have a wide variety of sound in the pack to cover large grounds and, be creative. So we have Pulse Width Modulation Juice. Sounds like this. Finally, the vocal pads. We have there's more stuff, but I don't want to stretch this video too much. But the Witch Daughter, there's vocal pads. The difference with Atmosphere mostly is these are really based around human voice. This one sounds like this. Again, it's really good to put in the background of a track. You can gate it, you can process it, and it creates tension and mystical vibe. Or you can literally put that up front too and make it an upfront element of your track. And that was an overview of Psytrance Fusion for Pigments. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this overview of Psytrance Fusion for Pigments. There's currently an intro price on the bank, but that won't last forever. But one thing that will last forever is the code Marvin Says Hi. The code will be in the description, and you get 10% off of this bank. Since I worked on this bank, I was able to get some pressure into applying this code on fractal sounds, so you can now get 10% off of it. I also got more videos about pigments coming up in the future. This is a really great tool to be creative, and that's the stuff I like to cover. If you feel you need to dive deeper, you need some help, some mentoring, some one-to-one course, some group lessons, don't forget to check out my community of students. The link is in the description, as well as all the links mentioned, including this pack. Everything is in the description. And until then, I will see you in another video. Happy producing.